So a YouTuber named McJuggernuggets, Jesse Ridgway, announced this week that he and his wife announced that this week they had terminated a pregnancy when they found out that the baby was diagnosed with Down syndrome. And the internet completely lost its mind. You got death threats, people calling him a murderer, politicians weighing in, religious groups having a field day. And I just have to sit here and say, what the hell is wrong with people? Let me tell you what this couple did. They found out that their baby had trisomy 21, Down syndrome. They consulted doctors, they consulted genetic counselors, talked to friends and family, researched what this diagnosis actually means, all of the heart defects, developmental challenges, the medical challenges, the reality of raising a child with such a condition. And they made an incredibly painful and very private decision. And then strangers on the internet called them murderers, sent them death threats even, told them that they were going to hell. These are the same people that will tell you they are pro-life. Pro-life. Okay. Whilst sending death threats to a grieving couple. Let that sink in. Here is what I want to address directly. The pro-life movement has never been about life. If it were really about life, and these people actually genuinely cared about the safety and well-being of these children, then they would support universal health care so that those children could get actual medical treatment. They would support robust social services so that people raising children, especially ones with these sorts of disabilities, wouldn't just be left out in the dark, just on their own. They would support a system that teaches comprehensive sex education so we have less unwanted pregnancies to begin with. They do none of those things. What they support is controlling women. What they support is using the law to force people to make the choice that these strangers that will never meet this family, have decided is the right one. It isn't pro-life. It's pro-control. And the second that baby is born, the moment it takes its first breath, those people disappear. The checks stop. The interest all goes away. All of that support gone. Because it was never about the baby. It was about the principle. Or more accurately, about the religion. Let's be honest about where this comes from. This isn't some secular ethical reasoning that these people came to from, their own internal moral reasoning. This is religion, and specifically the Christian doctrine about the soul beginning at conception. And if you truly believe that, that's fine, because that is your personal belief. That's all you. But the moment you attempt to write your beliefs into law, the moment that you attempt to use the government to try and force everyone else to live according to your own personal religious framework, you have crossed a line. Because I do not share your belief. Millions of people do not share your beliefs. And in a country that is supposed to have separation of church and state, your religious convictions do not get to override someone else's bodily autonomy. Full stop. Now, people seem to be particularly angry about this case because it was over Down syndrome. And I've seen these arguments that, people with Down syndrome live perfectly happy lives. They're capable of love and joy. You're saying that their lives are not worth living. Nobody said that. Nobody's saying that people with Down syndrome don't have value in their own lives. And nobody said that they're not worth living in the first place. That's not what the decision was about. The decision was about whether this couple, in their specific circumstance, their specific financial situation, their specific emotional capacity, their specific assessment of what they could provide, whether they were able to raise a child with such complex needs. And here's something that the pro-life crowd conveniently ignores all the fucking time. Raising a child with Down syndrome is really hard. It's not impossible nor significantly joyless. It's just particularly hard. Really hard. Requires resources, support systems. It requires a level of lifelong commitment that people really need to be ready for. And the honest, compassionate, pro-child thing is to just acknowledge that. Forcing someone to have a child that they are not prepared for is not kindness. It's your cruelty dressed up as morality. And something that trumps all of it is that even if you disagree with them and if you would have made a different choice, it isn't your body, not your pregnancy. It's not your life, not your child to raise. A woman's body is not public property. It isn't subject to a community vote. It isn't governed by your Bible, by your politics, or your feelings. The entire principle around bodily autonomy is that a person has the right to make decisions about their own body. It isn't a controversial, philosophical position to have, but it is the foundation of every other medical right that we possess. You cannot force someone to donate an organ, even if it's to save a life. You cannot force someone to give blood. You cannot use a dead person's body without their consent prior, even to save somebody else. But somehow so many people have decided that a woman has less autonomy over her own body than a fucking corpse. This is insane. Demonstrably insane. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise just to make someone else feel comfortable. And real quick about the hypocrisy of it all, because the people sending them death threats, calling them murderers, the people invoking God, Jesus, and the sanctity of life, these are the same people that cheered on as abortion access was stripped away from women in states where they had no health care, no support, no safety net. These are the same people that will vote against every single policy that would make raising a child, especially a disabled child, a lot easier in this country. They go, oh no, paid parental leave? Hell no. Affordable childcare? Why the hell do you care about that? Healthcare for disabled children? No way. Food stamps for struggling families? I know you hate that. You want to force people to have children and then as soon as the child's born, refuse to help them raise that child that you forced them to have. That's not pro-life. I call it pro-punishment. You want to punish women for having sex, for making choices that you disagree with, for existing in their own bodies on their own terms, and you have wrapped that punishment in a language of morality so that you can feel righteous about it. It's disgusting. I want to say something directly to Jesse and Ashley. Whether they see this or not, probably not going to see it, but it's the point. I am sorry. I'm sorry you had to make one of the hardest decisions of your entire lives, a deeply painful and personal decision. And instead of being met with compassion and understanding, You're greeted with threats. You don't owe anybody an explanation. You don't owe anyone a justification. You made a legal, private, medical decision about your family. And the fact that you are being treated like criminals for it says everything about the people attacking you than it does about you. And here's where I personally land on abortion. It's a medical procedure. It's healthcare. It is nobody's business except the person whose body is involved. You do not have to like it, nor do you have to agree with every reason someone has made to have one. You do not have to personally make that choice, but you don't get to make it for somebody else. Not with your opinion, not with your Bible, and not with your laws. A woman's body belongs to her. It's not like I'm making some big fucking political statement or some radical position on it, but I think it's just the bare minimum for human decency. And until this country figures that out, we are going to continue to have this discussion. If you made it to the end of this video, thanks. Whether you agree with me or not, at least you sat through the argument, and I can respect that. If this video pissed you off, good. Leave a comment. Tell me about it. And if it resonates with you, maybe share it. At least drop a comment and like it. Like, show me you like it. Because this conversation needs to be louder than all of these fucking people trying to shut it down. I'm Arafina, and subscribe if you want more of this. I'll see you in the next one.